The blood moon hung
I'm
low
here.
over
You're
Montana
safe
territory,
now.
painting the
I
prairie
thought I'd
grass the
lost
color
you.
of old wine.
Never will survive this.
Marguerite Ashford ran through it like a ghost, her wedding dress torn to ribbons, her feet leaving dark prints in the dust. 3 days locked in that room. 3 days of Silas's voice through the door, smooth as poison, explaining how it would all be so simple. How she'd walk down the aisle, how she'd say the words, how she'd become his legally, properly, the way things were meant to be after Julian died. 3 days of planning her escape. The window hadn't been large. The fall hadn't been graceful. But she'd landed in the rose bushes, rolled through thorns that tore silk and skin alike, and she'd run. That was 6 hours ago. Now her lungs burned, her vision blurred at the edges. The dress, once white, once beautiful, once the thing Silas had commissioned, without asking her opinion, dragged behind her like a phantom limb she couldn't amputate. She stumbled over a prairie dog hole and went down hard. Her palms hit stone. Blood welled up dark against pale skin. Get up, she told herself. Get up or die here. But her legs wouldn't obey. Her body had given everything it had. The adrenaline that had carried her this far was gone, burned away like morning fog. She lay there in the grass staring up at that impossible moon and thought about Julian. Her husband had been a good man, a kind man, a man who'd married her with gentle words and gentler hands, who'd treated her like porcelain, like something precious that might break if held too tightly. She'd loved him. She'd also felt in quiet moments she never spoke aloud, like she was suffocating. And then he died. Fever, the doctor said. Came on sudden, left him cold in 48 hours. She'd mourned. She'd wept. She'd worn black for a year and felt the weight of widowhood settle on her shoulders like a sentence. Then Silas had arrived with papers proving he was Julian's heir. The practice, the house, the money, everything. Including he seemed to believe her. The first month he'd been courteous. The second insistent. By the third he'd stopped asking and started demanding. That's when he'd locked the door. Marguerite closed her eyes. The blood moon swam behind her eyelids, red and patient. If this is where it ends, she thought, at least I chose it. At least I ran. Then she smelled bread. Her eyes opened. Ahead, maybe 100 yards, a structure rose from the prairie. Not a house, bigger than a barn. An estate, Gothic and strange, all dark wood and sharp angles, like something transplanted from a European nightmare into the Montana plains. Light glowed in one window. Just one. Bread, her starving mind insisted. You smelled bread. She didn't remember standing, didn't remember walking. But suddenly she was at a low fence, then over it, then crossing a yard where chickens roosted in eerie silence. There, a smaller building, a henhouse neat and well kept. Her hands found the latch. The door swung open on oiled hinges. Inside warmth, straw, the soft sounds of sleeping hens, and on a shelf, impossible and perfect, a loaf of bread wrapped in cloth, still warm from an oven somewhere in that Gothic house. She didn't think. Thinking was for people who had choices. She grabbed the bread, tore into it with her teeth. It was good bread, better than good, the kind someone had taken time to make properly. She devoured half the loaf before her stomach cramped, reminding her that she hadn't eaten in 3 days, and this was too much too fast. She sat down hard on a hay bale, bread clutched to her chest, and tried not to vomit. That's when she heard it, the click of a hammer being pulled back. Wedding, said a voice from the doorway. Low and rough and patient, or grave? Marguerite turned her head slowly. A man stood silhouetted against the blood moon. Tall, lean, dressed in dark clothes that might have been black or might have been deepest blue. In his hands a rifle, the barrel pointed at the ground, but ready, always ready. His face was in shadow, but she saw his eyes. They reflected the moonlight like an animal's. I asked you a question, he said. She swallowed bread that had turned to ash in her mouth. Does it matter? Might. He stepped into the henhouse. Now she saw him properly. Older than her, but not old, 35 or 40, with dark hair that touched his collar and a face that looked like it had forgotten how to smile decades ago. Handsome in a severe way, aristocratic. Wrong for this place, wrong for this frontier, wrong for a man standing in a henhouse at midnight. His eyes swept over her, the torn dress, the bleeding feet. The bread she still held like a weapon or a prayer. You're the one running, he said, not a question. I'm the one who's not your business. Something flickered in his expression. Surprise, maybe. Amusement. It vanished before she could name it. You broke into my henhouse, he said. Stole my bread. That makes it my business. Then shoot me. She met his eyes, those strange, reflecting eyes, and felt something break open in her chest. Not fear. Defiance. I'm tired of running. I'm tired of being afraid. If you're going to kill me, do it. But I'm not apologizing for trying to survive. The silence stretched between them like a living thing. Then he lowered the rifle. What's your name? Marguerite Ashford. The words came automatically. Mara. Mara. He tested it, the single syllable. I'm Lucian Thornhaven. This is my estate. I didn't mean to trespass. Yes, you did. You meant exactly that. He propped the rifle against the wall. Question is, what are you running from, wedding, you said? But weddings don't usually leave a woman bloody and half dead in someone's henhouse. Mara looked down at the bread in her hands. Her third finger on her left hand was bare. The skin where Julian's ring had lived for 3 years was still pale, still marked. My husband died 2 years ago, she said quietly. His brother inherited everything, including he seems to think me. And you disagreed. I told him no. He locked me in my room, said I'd walk to the altar or be carried to it. She looked up, so I went through the window. Lucien was quiet for a long moment. Then he moved to the henhouse entrance and looked out at the blood moon. How far behind is he? I don't know, a day, maybe less. Does he have money more than go? Does he have connections? Enough to buy sheriffs, enough to buy judges. Mara's voice cracked. Enough to buy anything except the one thing he wants, which is me saying yes. Lucien turned back to face her. The moonlight caught his face now fully, and she saw something there she hadn't expected. Understanding. You can't stay here, he said. Her heart sank. Of course, no one helped. No one risked themselves for a stranger. I know, she whispered. I'll leave at first light. No, Ohio. He crossed to her, held out a hand. You can't stay here in my henhouse eating stolen bread like a stray cat. His eyes met hers. You'll stay in the house as my employee. Mara stared at him. What? I need someone who can work during daylight hours. Someone who can manage the household deal with townspeople, handle affairs I can't attend to personally. He didn't blink. In exchange, you get room board and protection. He wants to take you, he'll have to come through me first. You don't even know me. I know you jumped through a window rather than surrender. I know you're starving, but you didn't take more than you needed. I know you're terrified, but you looked me in the eye and told me to shoot you if I was going to rather than beg. The ghost of something that might have been a smile touched his mouth. That tells me enough. Why would you do this? Lucien picked up his rifle. Everyone has debts. Maybe I'm paying one. To whom? Does it matter? Mara thought about her options. Run again with no food, no shoes, no strength, and Silas somewhere behind her with money and men and legal documents that said she belonged to him. Or stay here with this strange man in his Gothic house and hope that his protection was real and not another cage. What are your terms? She asked. Work during the day. Don't ask questions about things that aren't your concern. Don't leave the property without telling me. He paused. And understand that if your brother-in-law comes, things might get complicated. Complicated how? Complicated in ways you're better off not knowing until you have to. She should have been afraid, should have heard warning bells. But something in his voice, something in the way he stood there patient and still made her feel like he was offering exactly what he said. No more, no less. All right, she said. All right, I'll work for you. I'll follow your rules. And if Silas comes, I won't expect you to fight my battles. But I won't go back. Not ever. Lucien studied her. Then he nodded once. Then we have an agreement. He stepped aside. Come, it's almost dawn. You'll want to see your room before the sun rises. Mara followed him out of the henhouse into the yard toward the Gothic estate that loomed against the lightning sky. She didn't know what she was walking into, but it had to be better than what she'd left behind. The house was not what she expected. From outside, it looked like something from a ghost story, all sharp gables and dark wood and windows that seemed to watch rather than reflect. But inside, it was warm. Candles burned in sconces along the hallway. The floors were dark hardwood, polished to a gleam. Paintings hung on walls, landscapes and portraits of people with severe faces and old-fashioned clothes. How long have you lived here? Mara asked, following Lucien down a corridor. Long enough. That's not an answer. No, he agreed, it's not. He stopped at a door, opened it. Inside, a bedroom, simple but elegant, a 4-poster bed with clean linens, a wardrobe, a washstand with a porcelain basin, a window facing east. This is yours, Lucien said. There's water in the basin, clothes in the wardrobe left by the previous housekeeper. They might fit. Mara stepped inside. The room smelled like lavender and lemon oil, like someone had cared for it. Where is she? She asked. The previous housekeeper. She married a man from town, left 6 months ago. Lucien stood in the doorway, not entering. I've been managing alone since then. It's been difficult. Mara wanted to ask what he meant, but exhaustion hit her like a physical blow. Her legs shook, her vision blurred. Lucien noticed immediately. You need to sleep. We'll discuss your duties tomorrow evening. Evening. I'm not awake during the day. I'll leave you a list of tasks. Follow them and we'll get along fine. Before she could respond, he was gone, closing the door softly behind him. Mara stood alone in the room staring at the bed. She should have been suspicious, should have been afraid. Instead, she felt something she hadn't felt in 2 years. Safe. She stripped off the ruined wedding dress, left it in a heap on the floor like a shed skin, found a nightgown in the wardrobe's soft cotton that smelled like cedar, washed her face and hands in the basin, watching the water turn pink with blood and dirt. Then she climbed into the bed. The sheets were cool, the pillows soft. Through the window, the blood moon was setting, giving way to the pale light of dawn. Mara closed her eyes. She was asleep before the sun cleared the horizon. When she woke, the sun was high, noon maybe later. She'd slept for hours deep and dreamless. On the bedside table, a note written in elegant script. Tasks for today: 1. Explore the house. Learn where things are. 2. Prepare dinner. Kitchen is downstairs, second door on the left. Larder is stocked. 3. Do not enter the east wing. 4. Do not open any shuttered rooms. 5. If anyone comes to the door, take their message, but do not invite them inside. I will be awake at sunset. We'll talk then. LT. Mara read it twice. Do not enter the east wing. Do not open shuttered rooms. What kind of house had rules like that? She pushed the thought aside. She needed this. Needed the shelter, the protection, the space to breathe and think and plan her next move. If Lucien Thornhaven wanted to keep parts of his house private, that was his right. She dressed in clothes from the wardrobe. A simple gray dress that fit well enough, though it was slightly loose in the waist. The previous housekeeper had been a larger woman. Shoes too worn but serviceable. Then she went exploring. The house was bigger than it looked from outside. Rooms opened into rooms, hallways branched and turned. A library with books in languages she couldn't read. A parlor with furniture covered in white sheets. A dining room with a table that could seat 20. And everywhere that sense of something waiting, watching. She found the kitchen. It was large, well-equipped, and surprisingly clean. Someone had been maintaining it at least minimally. The larder held food, fresh vegetables, dried herbs, meat in a cold box, flour, sugar, salt, everything she needed. She started cooking. It felt good to have something to do with her hands. Good to focus on something other than fear and flight. As she worked, she noticed things. The knives were very sharp. Too sharp, kept to an edge that spoke of constant maintenance. The windows all had heavy shutters closed and latched from inside. And in the corner of the kitchen, half hidden behind a pantry shelf, a door. Locked. With a heavy bolt on the outside. She didn't try to open it. Instead, she finished cooking, set the table in the dining room, and waited. The sun set slowly, painting the sky purple and gold. And as the last light faded, she heard footsteps upstairs. Lucien appeared in the dining room doorway exactly at dusk. He'd changed clothes, wore a dark suit that looked expensive and slightly old-fashioned. His hair was damp, like he'd just bathed. He stopped when he saw the table. You cooked, he said. You said to prepare dinner. I didn't expect. He trailed off something complicated, crossing his face. Thank you. He sat down. Mara served him. He ate slowly, deliberately, like he was trying to remember how. This is good, he said after a long silence. It's just stew. It's the first proper meal I've had in 6 months. He looked at her. The previous housekeeper was many things, but a cook wasn't one of them. Mara sat across from him, her own plate untouched. Why didn't you hire someone else sooner? Finding the right person is difficult. Because I require discretion. Because I have unusual habits. He set down his fork. Most people who come here don't stay long. They find the house unsettling. Mara looked around the dining room. The portraits on the walls, all those severe faces. The candles that burned without smoking. The silence that pressed in from every corner. It is unsettling, she admitted. But I've lived in worse places. Have you... She thought of the house she'd shared with Julien. Beautiful, proper, a cage made of good intentions and gentle suffocation. Yes, she said. Lucien studied her. You're not afraid. I'm terrified, but not of you. Why not? Because you've had a dozen chances to hurt me and haven't. Because you offered me work, not charity. She met his eyes across the table. I'll keep your secrets, Mr. Thornhaven, whatever they are. All I ask is that you keep yours about me. Something shifted in his expression. Not quite a smile, but close. Deal, he said. They finished dinner in comfortable silence. Afterward, Lucien showed her more of the house. The library where she could read freely. The music room, though he warned her the piano was out of tune. The gardens overgrown but trying. You can go anywhere in the main wing, he said, but the east wing is private, my quarters. You understand, I do. And if you need me during the day, there's a bell, 3rd floor end of the hall. Ring it and I'll come, but only in emergencies. Where will you be? He didn't answer directly. I sleep during the day, very deeply. It's a medical condition. I don't wake easily. It wasn't quite a lie. Mara could tell, but it wasn't quite the truth either. She let it go. The next 3 days fell into a rhythm. She woke with the sun, made breakfast for herself, cleaned the house room by room, learning its rhythms and secrets, made dinner, waited for sunset. Lucien appeared each evening like clockwork. They ate together, talked. He was educated, well-traveled, full of stories about places she'd never seen. On the fourth day, she met Octavia Gray. The sun had just set when Mara heard voices downstairs. She'd been in the library reading. She set down her book and went to investigate. In the parlor, Lucien stood with a woman. She was older, 60 at least, but carried herself like royalty. Silver hair pinned up in an elaborate style, a dress of deep purple that belonged to another era. Her face was lined but beautiful with eyes that were sharp and knowing. "Ah," she said when she saw Mara. "So this is your new housekeeper." "Octavia, this is Mara Ashford, Mara Octavia Gray, my advisor." "Advisor?" Octavia's mouth twitched. "Is that what we're calling it now?" She crossed to Mara, extended a hand. Her grip was cool, strong. "It's a pleasure to meet you, dear. Lucien has told me about your situation." Mara glanced at Lucien, who looked vaguely uncomfortable. "Has he? Fleeing an unwanted marriage, a brother-in-law with more money than morals, very Gothic." Octavia smiled. "You'll fit right in." They talked for an hour. Octavia asked questions that seemed innocent but weren't, where Mara was from, how long she'd been married, what her skills were, what she was afraid of. "And this brother-in-law," Octavia said eventually, "Silas, was it?" "Yes." "Do you think he'll come here?" I don't know, maybe, if he figures out where I am." "And if he does," Mara looked at Lucien, who stood by the window watching the night. "Then I'll deal with it," she said. "Will you?" Octavia's eyes were suddenly intense. "Or will you run again?" The question hit like a blow. "I don't know," Mara whispered. Octavia stood. "Well, I suppose we'll find out." She turned to Lucien. "Walk me out." They left together. Mara stayed in the parlor, hands shaking. Would she run? She wanted to say no, wanted to believe she was strong enough to stand and fight. But she'd been running for so long. When Lucien returned, she was still sitting there. "She's direct," he said. "She's terrifying." "That too." He sat across from her. "But she's right to ask. You need to decide, Mara. If he comes, what will you do?" "I don't know what I can do." "You can choose not to run, one day at a time, one choice at a time." He stood. "You're already stronger than you think." He left her there with those words hanging in the air. On the fifth night, Octavia returned. This time she came alone in late afternoon while Lucien was still sleeping. Mara was in the garden when she heard the carriage. "Good, we need to talk." "Privately," Octavia said. They went inside to the library. Octavia closed the door. "I'm going to tell you something Lucien doesn't want you to know yet," she said. "But you need to hear it." Mara's stomach dropped. "What?" "2 nights ago I took a sample of your blood from the glass you used at dinner." She held up a hand before Mara could protest. "You have something rare in your blood, an enzyme, a genetic marker passed down through certain bloodlines." "I don't understand." "You will." Octavia sat down heavily. "Mara, your brother-in-law isn't just greedy. He's desperate, because he knows what you are, even if you don't." "What am I?" "A carrier of the Daywalker gene." The words meant nothing. "The what?" "There are things in this world you don't know about yet, things Lucien is trying to protect you from knowing too soon." Octavia's eyes were sad. "But you're in danger, real danger, and you deserve to know why." Mara's hands gripped the arms of her chair. "Tell me. Your brother-in-law isn't entirely human. He's something called a half-blood. Part of something else. Something that needs your blood to become whole." Octavia leaned forward. "If he gets you, if he completes a certain ritual, he'll become something very dangerous. Immortal. Powerful. Unkillable." The room spun. "That's insane," Mara whispered. "Is it? Think about it. His obsession with you, his refusal to let you go." Mara stood up, paced to the window. Outside, the sun was setting. "And Lucien," she asked, "what is he about?" "That's his story to tell. But know this, he's one of the few people in this world who can protect you from Silas. Maybe the only one." Before Octavia could say more, the door opened. Lucien stood there fully awake despite the sun still being up, his face pale and furious. "Octavia," he said quietly, "what have you done? What you should have done days ago, told her the truth. It's too soon, she's not ready. She's ready enough." Lucien's jaw clenched. He looked at Mara, something raw in his eyes. "It's true, isn't it?" Mara said. "There's something you haven't told me." The silence stretched. Then Lucien stepped into the room and closed the door behind him. Yes, he said, there's something I haven't told you. He moved to the window to where the last sunlight was fading, and as Mara watched, his skin began to smoke where the light touched it. He pulled back into shadow and the smoking stopped. I'm a vampire, he said simply. I have been for 312 years. And Octavia is right. Silas isn't human, he's half vampire, and he wants your blood to complete his transformation. Mara stared at him. Then she laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. It was the laugh of someone whose world was tilting sideways. Vampires, she said. You're telling me vampires are real? Yes. And my brother-in-law is one. Half of one. And you... She looked at Lucien, really looked. You've been dead for 300 years. Not dead, undead. There's a difference. Is there? She sat down hard. Is there really? Lucien crossed to her, knelt so they were eye level. Mara, listen to me. I know this is a lot, but everything Octavia told you is true. Silas wants you, not as a wife, as a key. Your blood can make him immortal, and he won't stop until he gets it. But you, she reached out, touched his face. His skin was cool, solid, real. You're really? Yes. She pulled her hand back. Why didn't you tell me? Because I was afraid you'd run, and you need protection. His eyes held hers. I'm not human, Mara, but I'm not a monster either. I swear to you, I will never hurt you, never take from you what isn't freely given. The room was silent except for her ragged breathing. Then from outside, a sound. Hoofbeats. Multiple horses coming fast. Lucien's head snapped up. How many? Octavia moved to the window. 4 riders, coming from town. Is it him? I think so. Lucien stood, his face going cold and still. Mara, go to your room, lock the door. Don't come out until I tell you. I'm not hiding. This isn't a request. His voice carried command, ancient and absolute. Go, now. Something in that voice made her move. She ran upstairs into her room, locked the door with shaking hands. Then she went to the window and looked out. 4 riders stopped in the yard. 3 were men she didn't recognize, rough and armed. The 4th was Silas. He dismounted smooth and confident and looked up at the house like he owned it. Lucien Thornhaven, he called. I know you're in there, and I know you have something that belongs to me. Mara's breath stopped. The front door opened. Lucien stepped out onto the porch, Octavia behind him. Celeste Ashford, Lucien said, his voice carrying across the yard. You're trespassing. I'm reclaiming stolen property. Silas smiled, cold and sure. My sister-in-law ran away. Had some kind of mental episode. I've come to take her home. She's not here. Don't lie to me, Thornhaven. I can smell her. Silas took a step forward. I can smell her blood. Sweet, rare, special. His eyes gleamed. Daywalker blood. You know what that means, don't you? I know what you are, Lucien said quietly. Half-blood, desperate, dangerous. Then you know I won't leave without her. Then you know you're not leaving at all. The air between them crackled with tension. Silas laughed. You think you can stop me? You're old, Thornhaven, old and weak. I have the law on my side. I have money. You have nothing. Lucien's voice dropped to a growl. Except 3 seconds to get off my land before I remind you what an old vampire can do to a half-blood who's forgotten his place. Silas's smile faltered. You wouldn't dare. The council. The council doesn't govern here. This is my territory, and she is under my protection. Lucien stepped to the edge of the porch. You want her, you come through me first. For a long moment, they stared at each other. Then Silas remounted his horse. This isn't over, he said. No, Lucien agreed. It's not. But you have 3 weeks. That's how long until the next blood moon. When it rises, we'll settle this. You and me, trial by blood. Though, you challenge me to trial? I'm not challenging, I'm promising. 3 weeks. Blood moon peak. Bring your council allies if you want. Lucien's eyes blazed red in the dying light. But know this, if you come for her before then, if you touch her, if you even think about her the wrong way, I will hunt you to the ends of the earth and make you beg for the mercy of true death. Silas went pale. Then he turned his horse and rode away, his men following. Mara stood at the window watching them disappear into the dusk. Her hands were shaking. Her mind was spinning. Everything she thought she knew about the world had just shattered. But through the fear, through the shock, one thought burned clear. Lucien had stood between her and Silas, had claimed her as his to protect, had challenged a monster on her behalf. She didn't know what that meant, but she knew one thing, she wasn't running anymore. Mara didn't leave her room for hours after Silas rode away. She sat on the bed, hands folded in her lap, staring at nothing. Vampires, blood rituals, a brother-in-law who was something inhuman, and Lucien, 300 years old, undead, Except he wasn't frightening. He was the one who'd given her shelter, who'd kept his word, who'd stood on that porch and faced down Silas like a wall between her and everything that wanted to break her. A knock at the door made her jump. Mara, Octavia's voice gentle. May I come in? Yes. The door opened. Octavia entered carrying a tray with tea and brandy. I thought you might need this, she said. The tea is chamomile. The brandy is very old. Take whichever helps. Mara reached for the brandy, drank it in one swallow. It burned going down. Better, Octavia asked. No, but at least now my throat hurts too. Octavia smiled sadly and sat in the chair by the window. I know this is overwhelming. Lucian wanted to wait longer. He thought you needed time to feel safe before learning the truth. He was wrong. Perhaps, or perhaps he was just afraid. Octavia poured tea. He hasn't cared about anyone in a very long time, not since Isabel died, and caring makes us cautious. Isabel was his wife, his human wife. She knew what he was, loved him anyway, and when vampire hunters came 5 years ago, she died protecting him. Octavia's voice was soft with old grief. He's carried that guilt ever since, swore he'd never let another human get close enough to be hurt because of what he is. Then why take me in? Because he owed your husband a debt. Octavia met her eyes. Julian Ashford saved Lucien's life 10 years ago. Vampire hunters had tracked him to town, caught him in daylight, wounded him badly. Julian found him, hit him, treated his wounds, kept him alive until sunset. Never asked questions, never demanded payment, just help because it was right. Mara's throat tightened. That sounded like Julian. Julian knew about vampires. Yes, they maintained a cordial distance after that. Julian would send word if hunters came through town. Lucian would make sure Julian's patients weren't troubled by our world's less savory elements. Octavia sipped her tea. When Julian died, Lucian mourned. He owed the man, and when you showed up, debt became duty. Duty became something else. What else? Octavia smiled. That's for you and Lucien to figure out. Mara looked down at her hands. They'd stopped shaking. Silas, she said quietly, what he said about my blood, is that real? Very real and very rare. It's a genetic mutation passed through certain bloodlines. Humans who carry it are usually unaware, but vampires can sense it. For a half-blood like Silas, it's the only way to achieve full transformation without dying in the process. What does he need to do? Ritual blood magic, complex old requiring specific conditions. The ritual needs to be completed under a blood moon at a place of power. Octavia's face hardened. If he succeeds, he becomes a daywalker vampire, immortal, stronger than pure vampires, unstoppable. And Lucien challenged him to trial by blood. An old law. When two vampires dispute over something, they can challenge to single combat under the blood moon. Winner takes all, loser dies or worse. Octavia set down her cup. Lucien bought you time. 3 weeks until the blood moon rises again. 3 weeks to prepare. Prepare how? That's what I'm here to discuss. Octavia stood. Get some sleep tonight. Tomorrow your education begins. She left, taking the tray but leaving the brandy bottle. Mara sat alone in this darkness, listening to the house settle around her. Somewhere below, she heard Lucien moving, quiet footsteps, a door closing. She should be afraid of him. Instead, she felt protected. The training began the next evening. Mara woke at dusk to find Lucien waiting in the library, books spread across the table. If you're going to survive in this world, he said without preamble, you need to understand it. He taught her about vampires, not the myths, the truths. Sunlight didn't kill them instantly, but it weakened them, burned their skin, could kill if exposure lasted too long. The older the vampire, the more they could tolerate, but none could walk freely in full daylight. Silver burned like fire. Not fatal alone, but painful, effective as a weapon. Holy water worked if blessed by someone with genuine faith. Garlic was useless. Stakes through the heart worked, but only if you severed the spine as well. Beheading was the most reliable method. You're telling me how to kill you, Mara said. I'm telling you how to protect yourself. From me, from Silas, from anything that might come. Lucien looked up from the book. Knowledge is the first defense, and the second, physical capability. In the estate's basement, there was a room Mara hadn't seen before. Octavia called it the armory. Weapons lined the walls, swords, daggers, crossbows, modern guns, and on a special rack, wooden stakes, silver knives, bottles of holy water. Choose, Octavia said. Mara chose a silver knife, small enough to hide, sharp enough to matter. Good instinct, Lucien said. He stood behind her close, but not touching. Now learn to use it. He taught her to fight dirty. No rules, no honor, just survival. Eyes, throat, groin. The vulnerable places even on a vampire. She was terrible at first. Slow, hesitant, afraid of hurting him. Harder, he said, deflecting her strike easily. Silas won't be gentle. He won't give you time to find courage. She thrust again. He sidestepped. Stop thinking like a victim. You jumped through a window and ran for your life. That woman isn't afraid to fight. Something in Mara snapped. She lunged, really lunged, the blade aimed at his throat. He caught her wrist an inch from his skin, held it there. Better, he said softly. Much better. Their faces were close. She could see the red flickering in his eyes, the predator beneath the gentleman. She should pull away. She didn't. Again, he said. They trained until dawn, until Mara's arms ached and her lungs burned and sweat soaked through her dress. Enough, Lucian said finally. You did well. I didn't land a single hit. No, but you tried to. He handed her a towel. Every moment you don't freeze or submit, you gain advantage. Mara wiped her face. Why are you doing this? You paid your debt to Julian. You could send me away before the blood moon. Lucian was quiet for a long time. Because I've lived 300 years, he said finally. And I've spent most of them alone, safe, unchanging. And I was so tired, Mara. So tired of endless nights, the same patterns, the hollowness of immortality without meaning. He looked at her and she saw something raw in his face. Then you appeared, stealing bread from my henhouse, looking at me like I was a man, not a monster. His voice dropped. You reminded me what it felt like to be alive, to care, to fight for something other than just existing. Mara's breath caught. Lucien, I'm not asking for anything, he said quickly. I just need you to know this isn't about debt anymore. It's about choice. My choice to stand with you. Your choice to trust me or not. The basement was silent except for their breathing. Then Mara stepped forward and kissed him. It was brief, chaste, just lips against lips, a question more than an answer. When she pulled back, Lucian's eyes were wide, the red glow brighter. That was, and he started. My choice, she said. Not gratitude, not desperation. Choice. He touched his lips, wonder on his face, like he'd forgotten what a kiss felt like. We should go upstairs, he said. Dawn is close. They climbed the stairs together. At the top, Lucian turned toward the east wing. Sleep well, Mara, he said. You too. I don't sleep. I just wait for night. Then he was gone, disappearing into the shuttered wing where daylight never reached. Mara went to her room and lay down fully clothed, too exhausted to undress. She dreamed of Lucien's eyes, red and gold, and achingly lonely. The days blurred together, training with Octavia during the afternoon, combat practice with Lucien at night, learning vampire politics, blood magic theory, the intricate rules that govern the supernatural world. And through it all, the blood moon drew closer. 2 weeks until trial, then 10 days, then 1 week. On the 14th day, Octavia brought news. The council has called a meeting, she said. They're demanding Lucian present his case. Explain why he's harboring a human who rightfully belongs to Silas's family. I'm not property, Mara said, hands clenching. Human law says otherwise. Silas has papers signed and witnessed. In their eyes, you're a ward who ran away. Octavia's voice was gentle. But it's still law. Lucian will have to answer to it. When tomorrow night at the council hall in town, Mara stood. I'm coming. Absolutely not, Lucian said from the doorway. It's too dangerous. If something goes wrong, then it goes wrong with me there to speak for myself. Mara crossed her arms. I'm tired of people making decisions about my life without me. That includes you. Lucian's jaw tightened. These are creatures who've lived centuries, who see humans as livestock at best. They won't care about your feelings. But they care about vampire law, don't they? Mara stepped closer. And you said you'd stand with me. That means standing beside me, not in front of me. The silence stretched. She's right, Octavia said quietly. If she's not there, it looks like she's hiding. But if she stands before the council herself, it changes everything. It also puts her in Silas's reach. He won't dare touch her in council hall, not with witnesses. Octavia looked at Mara. But you need to be prepared. They'll question you, pressure you, try to break you. Let them try. Lucian stared at her for a long moment. Then he sighed. Right, but you stay close, and if I tell you to run, you run. Understood. That night they prepared. Octavia found Mara a dress. Dark blue, almost black, high-necked and severe. Armor made of silk. You want to look strong, Octavia said, pinning Mara's hair up. Not victimized. Strong. She added a silver necklace, thin chain with a small cross. Blessed, she said. Won't do much, but it might make them keep their distance. Mara looked at herself in the mirror. She barely recognized the woman staring back. Pale, tired, but also determined. Thank you, she said, for everything. Octavia's hand rested on her shoulder. I lost a daughter once, long ago before I was turned. She was brave too, foolish and brave. Her voice softened. You remind me of her. What happened to her, Shalom? She married a man who hurt her. I couldn't stop it. Octavia's grip tightened. I won't make that mistake again. Mara turned to hug this strange vampire woman. We're ready, Lucian said from the doorway. He wore a black suit, formal and old-fashioned every inch the vampire lord. The carriage is waiting. They rode through the night in silence. The council hall was in town disguised as an old church. Gothic architecture, stained glass windows, the appearance of abandoned holiness. Inside, it was very much alive. Vampires filled the pews. Dozens of them, aristocracy from across the territory. They turned as Lucien entered, eyes glowing in the candlelight. At the front, seated like judges, the council. 5 vampires, ancient and powerful, and standing to the side, smiling like he'd already won Silas. Lucien Thornhaven, said the vampire in the center, an elderly man with white hair and eyes like chips of ice. You've been summoned to answer charges of harboring stolen property. Lord Ambrose, Lucian, said, his voice carrying authority, I answer to no charges. The woman under my protection is not property. She's a free human who sought refuge. The law disagrees, said another council member, a woman with black hair and a cruel smile. Silas Ashford has legal guardianship. She broke contract by fleeing. That's theft. I'm not goods, Mara said. The entire hall turned to look at her. Lord Ambrose's eyebrow raised. The human speaks. Yes, Mara said, stepping forward. I speak, I think, I choose a phone. And I chose to leave a situation where I was imprisoned and forced into marriage against my will. Human will is irrelevant in vampire law. Then vampire law is tyranny. Gasps rippled through the hall. Silas laughed. You see emotional, irrational. This is why she needs a guardian. My place, Mara said, looking directly at him, is anywhere I choose to be, and I choose not to be with a man who imprisoned me, who murdered my husband, who wants me for my blood. Silence. Murdered, Lord Ambrose leaned forward. Explain. My husband, Julian Ashford, died 2 years ago. Official cause was fever, but Julian knew Silas was poisoning patients for profit. He was gathering proof, and before he could report it, he died. Suddenly. Conveniently. These are serious accusations, Ambrose said, and completely unfounded, Silas said smoothly. My brother died of natural causes. This is delusion. Is it? Octavia stepped forward. Because I have here Julian Ashford's final letter, written 6 months before his death, delivered to me for safekeeping. She produced an envelope yellowed with age. Ambrose gestured. Read it. Octavia's voice rang clear. To whom it may concern, my name is Dr. Julian Ashford. If you are reading this, I am likely dead, and my death was not natural. My brother Silas has been systematically poisoning patients who cannot pay. I have documented evidence of at least 7 deaths. I am preparing to report him, but I fear for my safety. Silas is not entirely human. He is something dangerous, and he will kill to protect his secrets. If I die, please protect my wife Marguerite. She knows nothing of this, but Silas will come for her. She carries something in her blood he wants. Please keep her safe. Julian Ashford. March 15th, 1872. The hall erupted, vampires talking, arguing. Ambrose raised a hand. Silence fell. Do you have this documented evidence? He asked. I know where it is, Octavia said. With Julian's nurse, a woman named Minerva Blackwell. Silas's face went pale. As if summoned, the church doors opened. A woman entered, young, dark-haired, carrying a leather satchel. Minerva Blackwell, she said, her voice steady. I worked for Dr. Julian Ashford for 5 years, and I have the evidence he collected. She walked to the council, placed the satchel on their table. Medical records, death certificates, letters, all proving that Silas Ashford murdered at least 12 people for profit. She looked at Silas, including his own brother. The hall exploded. Silas lunged for Minerva. Lucien moved faster, blocking him. Touch her, Lucien said quietly. And trial by blood becomes trial by execution. This is a setup, Silas snarled. We plan to reveal the truth, Lucien said. If that frightens you, examine why. Lord Ambrose stood. Silence. Everyone froze. He looked at Minerva. These records, are they genuine? Yes, my lord. Ambrose looked at Silas. These are serious charges. If proven, they violate our most sacred law. Vampires do not draw human attention through careless murder. I'm not a vampire, Silas said desperately. I'm half-blood. Your laws don't. Our laws apply to anyone who claims our privileges. You wanted council to enforce your guardianship. That makes you subject to vampire justice. Ambrose's eyes were cold. You have 2 choices. Withdraw your claim and submit to investigation, or proceed to trial by blood, where all of this will be examined publicly. Silas looked around, saw his allies edging away. Trial, Silas said finally. I claim trial by blood. 7 days. Blood Moon Peak. So be it. Ambrose struck his gavel. 7 days. Winner takes the woman and his life. Loser loses both. The council dispersed. Vampires filed out. Minerva approached. Mrs. Ashford, I'm sorry I couldn't come sooner. I was afraid. You kept the records. All this time. Julian asked me to. He said someday they'd be needed. Minerva's eyes were sad. He knew what Silas was. He tried to protect you the only way he could. Mara's vision blurred. He died for this. He died protecting the truth. There's honor in that. Lucian's hand found Mara's shoulder. We need to leave, before Silas tries something. They made it to the carriage, rode back in tense silence. Inside the estate, Mara finally broke down. Julian knew, she sobbed. He knew and didn't tell me. He died and left me. He loved you, Octavia said gently. Sometimes love looks like protection you don't ask for. And now you're doing the same thing, fighting for me. Yes, but with one difference. Lucian knelt beside her chair. I'm not keeping secrets. You know what I am. You know what this is. And I'm not deciding for you. I'm asking, do you want me to fight or do you want to run? Mara looked at him. This man who'd lived 300 years, who'd lost his wife, who'd taken in a stranger and given her everything. I want you to fight, she whispered. But I want to help too. Octavia and Lucian exchanged glances. There is a way, Octavia said slowly, but it's dangerous, permanent. Tell me, Lucian stood paced to the window, a blood bond. If you willingly share blood with me before the trial, you become bound to me, protected under vampire law. Silas can't claim you because you'd be bonded to another vampire. What does that mean, bonded? You'd drink my blood, not enough to transform you, just enough to link us. You'd gain some of my strength. I'd gain some of your Daywalker gift. We'd be connected. For how long? Until one of us dies, or until you choose to complete the transformation. Mara's heart pounded. And if you die in the trial, then the bond breaks. You'd stay human, free. And if you win but are hurt, then you'd have a choice. Let me recover slowly, or complete the bond, transform. Lucian turned to face her. But you need to understand, this is connection, deep connection. You'd feel what I feel. I'd feel what you feel. Would I become like you? Not unless you choose to. The bond is halfway. Transformation is the rest of the journey. Mara stood, walked to him, looked up into those ancient eyes. And if I said yes, when would we do it? Before the trial tonight. Lucian's voice was rough. But I need you to be certain. This is forever one way or another. I'm certain, Mara said. You're scared and I'm in love with you. The words hung in the air. Lucian stared at her. What? I'm in love with you, Mara repeated. I don't know when it started, but I know it now. Mara, you can't. I'm not human. I'm not even alive. You're the first person who's ever treated me like an equal, who's asked what I want instead of telling me what I need. She touched his face. Julian loved me, but he suffocated me. Silas wants to own me, but you've never tried to control me. You've only helped me be stronger. Tears ran down her face. So yes, I'm certain. I want the bond. Because I choose you. I choose us. Lucian closed his eyes. When he opened them, they were bright with unshed tears. I'm not a good man. I've done terrible things. I don't care about who you were. I care about who you are right now with me. If we do this, there's no going back. I don't want to go back. He kissed her then, really kissed her, deep and desperate and full of 300 years of loneliness finally breaking open. When they pulled apart, both were shaking. Tonight, he said, we'll do it tonight. Octavia prepared the ritual, the basement room candles arranged in circles, symbols drawn on the floor in chalk that glowed faintly. It's simple, she explained. You each cut your palm, mix blood, drink from the wound. The bond forms immediately. Will it hurt? Mara asked. Yes, but not for long. You'll feel his presence in your mind. He'll feel yours. Lucian stood across from her, silver knife in hand. Last chance, he said. I'm not walking away. He cut his palm. Blood welled up dark and thick. Mara took the knife, cut her bone palm. The pain was sharp clean. They pressed their hands together. The effect was immediate. Heat flooded through her, not from her palm, but from somewhere deeper. Her vision blurred. She felt Lucian in her mind, vast and old, and achingly lonely, a cathedral of memories. And he felt her. She knew it. Felt his shock at her brightness, her warmth, the fierce, stubborn core that had survived everything. They stood there, hands clasped, blood-mixing minds, opening like doors locked for lifetimes. Then Lucian lifted their joined hands to his mouth, drank from the wound where their blood met. Mara did the same. His blood tasted like copper and night and something wild. The bond snapped into place. She gasped, fell to her knees. Lucian caught her, held her as the world spun. "I've got you," he whispered. She could feel him, really feel him, his heartbeat slower than hers, his thoughts careful and controlled, his emotions breaking through centuries of walls. Love. He loved her, had loved her for weeks. "I know," she whispered back. "I feel it. I feel you." They stayed like that until the candles burned down. When they finally stood, everything had changed. Mara looked at her hands. The wound had healed, leaving only a thin scar. She felt stronger, faster, her senses sharper, and in her mind Lucien's presence. Steady, constant. Home. 7 days until the trial, Octavia said softly. Use them well. They did. 7 days of preparation. Training harder, learning to use their bond in combat. Lucian could sense Mara's fear, warn her of danger. Mara could lend him strength, help him tolerate more daylight. They were stronger together than apart. But on the 6th night, Mara found Lucien in the library staring at maps of Blood Moon Peak. "Tell me the truth," she said. "Can you win?" "I don't know. Silas is younger, faster. The Blood Moon will strengthen him, and I'll be weakened by the bond drawing power to protect you." "Then break it. Go in at full strength." "No." Lucien's voice was absolute. "The bond protects you under vampire law. Without it, even if I win, the council could still give you to Silas. Even if it means you die." He looked at her. "Even then." Mara's throat tightened. "There has to be another way." "There isn't. This is trial by blood, ancient, absolute." "Then make sure you win." "I'll try, but Mara, if something goes wrong." "Nothing will go wrong." "If it does," he continued, "the bond won't die with me immediately. You'll feel it fade over hours. And when it's gone, you'll be free, fully human. You can leave, start over." "I don't want that." "You might, when I'm gone." "Stop." Mara grabbed his face. "Stop planning for your death. Plan for our life. After you win." Lucien's eyes searched hers. Then he nodded. "All right, after I win, we leave. Go somewhere new. Somewhere Silas's ghost won't haunt you. Anywhere you want to see. I want to see everywhere. With you." He kissed her, soft, promise. Then everywhere it is. The 7th day dawned gray and cold. Tonight, the blood moon, the trial. Mara couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Just paced until Octavia came to help her dress. "He'll win," Octavia said, fastening buttons. "He survived worse." As sunset approached, Lucian came to her room. He wore black, no armor, no weapons beyond what vampire law allowed. "It's time," he said. Mara stood, took his hand, felt the bond thrumming between them. "Whatever happens," she said, "I love you." "Whatever happens," he echoed, "I love you too." They walked together to the carriage, to Blood Moon Peak, to the trial that would decide everything. Blood Moon Peak rose from the Montana plains like a finger pointing at heaven, or hell. The carriage climbed the winding road as darkness fell. Mara sat beside Lucien, their hands clasped. She could feel his heartbeat through the bond, slow, steady, preparing. Around them, other carriages. The vampire aristocracy come to witness. "Remember," Lucien said quietly, "stay with Octavia. Don't interfere, no matter what happens." "Lucien, promise me." Mara's throat tightened. "I promise." The peak was a natural amphitheater stone rising in tiers. Torches burned in iron brackets, and above it all, the blood moon rose huge and red. Vampires filled the stone seats, hundreds of them. They watched with glowing eyes. At the center, a circle drawn in salt, the fighting ground. Lord Ambrose stood at the edge. "Lucien Thornhaven," he called. "Step forward." Lucien squeezed Mara's hand once, then he walked to the circle, removed his coat, stood in shirt sleeves. "Silas Ashford, step forward." Silas emerged from the opposite side. He looked wilder, hungrier. The blood moon was already working on him. He smiled when he saw Mara. "Hello, sister. I'll be seeing you soon." "The terms," Ambrose said. "Trial by blood, to the death or submission. The winner claims the woman. The loser claims nothing. No weapons beyond what nature provides, no outside interference." He paused. "Do you both understand?" "Yes," Lucien said. "Yeah," Silas echoed. "Then when the moon reaches zenith, you begin." They waited. The moon climbed. Mara sat between Octavia and Minerva, hands clenched. Through the bond, she felt Lucien's focus, his fear but also determination. The moon touched its highest point. "Begin," Ambrose said. They moved. Silas struck first, faster than human eyes could follow. His fist caught Lucien's jaw. Blood sprayed. The crowd murmured. First blood to the half-blood. Lucien recovered and swept Silas's legs. They both went down, rolled, came up fighting. It was brutal. No elegance, just two creatures trying to destroy each other. Silas was faster. The blood moon fed him. He landed hit after hit, driving Lucien back. But Lucien was older, smarter. He took the hits, let Silas think he was winning, then struck back with precision. They fought in silence except for the impact of flesh on flesh. Mara watched through tears. Every hit Lucien took, she felt through the bond, the damage accumulating. He was losing. Silas got Lucien in a hold arm around his throat, squeezing. Lucien's face darkened. "Yield," Silas hissed. "Yield, and I'll make her death quick." Lucien's eyes found Mara's across the amphitheater. Through the bond, she felt him make a decision. He stopped fighting the hold, went limp. Silas laughed. Then Lucien twisted impossibly fast and bit. Not Silas's arm, his throat. Vampire blood flooded Lucien's mouth. He drank deep, taking strength from his opponent's own veins. Silas screamed, tried to pull away, but Lucien held on. The crowd erupted. Finally, Lucien released him. Silas stumbled back, hand to his throat, blood streaming. "I told you," Lucien said. "You come for her, you come through me." Silas's eyes blazed. He lunged again. They fought harder. Blood splattered the salt circle. Both were wounded, both weakening. The moon climbed higher. Zenith was passing. Silas knew his advantage was fading. He had to end this now. "Enough games," he snarled. "I'll take what I came for." He broke from Lucien and ran, not toward the edge, toward where Mara sat. Octavia stood, tried to block him. He backhanded her. She flew hit stone. Minerva screamed. Guards moved but too slow. Silas grabbed Mara by the throat, hauled her up. "Forfeit," he said to Lucien, "or I snap her neck." The amphitheater went silent. Lucien stood at the circle's edge, blood running down his face, his shirt torn. "Let her go," he said. "Forfeit first." "Can't do that. Step outside the circle and I lose. She goes to you anyway." "Then we have a problem." Silas's grip tightened. Mara couldn't breathe. "Because I'm taking her blood one way or another." Lucien's eyes met Mara's. Through the bond, she felt his anguish, his rage, his helplessness. And she felt something else, a memory, from his mind to hers. Isabel, his wife, dying in his arms, making him promise, "Don't let fear make you small." Mara understood. She reached up, grabbed Silas's arm, and she bit him. Human teeth couldn't do much damage, but they could surprise him. Silas jerked back. His grip loosened. Mara twisted free, grabbed the silver knife she'd hidden, and slashed. The blade caught Silas across the face. Silver burned vampire flesh. He screamed, stumbled back. Mara ran, not away, toward the circle, toward Lucien. She crossed the salt line just as Silas lunged after her. "No!" Lucien shouted, but it was too late. Silas was inside the circle, and so was Mara. Lord Ambrose stood. "The human has entered the fighting ground. By law, she's now a participant. Anyone in the circle can be targeted." "This isn't," Lucien started. "It's legal," Ambrose said. "The trial continues." Silas smiled through the blood on his face. "Perfect." He advanced on Mara. Lucien threw himself between them, but he was too wounded. Silas batted him aside. "Your blood," Silas said. "Willing or not, I'm taking it." He grabbed her wrist, pulling it to his mouth. "Wait," Mara said. He paused. "What? You want my blood? My willing blood gives more power. The ritual works better with consent." Silas's eyes narrowed. "You'd give it if you let Lucien live, if you promise to leave him alone." Mara's voice shook. "I'll give you what you want. Willingly. Right here." "Mara, no." Lucien groaned. She ignored him. "Do we have a deal?" Silas studied her, but he was too desperate. "Deal," he said. "Swear it on vampire law." "I swear. On vampire law, I'll let Lucien Thornhaven live." Silas's grip tightened. "Now give me your blood." Mara took a breath. Then she pulled a second knife from her sleeve. Cut her palm. Let the blood well up. "Take it," she said, holding out her hand. "Take it freely, given with my full consent." Silas smiled, reached for her bleeding palm, and then she said the rest. "Given freely to the man I love, to the bond we share, to Lucien Thornhaven, my chosen mate." She turned, pressed her bleeding hand to Lucien's mouth. "Drink," she whispered. He understood. His eyes widened, but he drank. Her blood freely given, empowered by love, flowing into him through the bond they shared. The effect was immediate. Light burst from Lucien, not sunlight but something like it. The bond between them blazed visible to everyone, a connection made of pure willpower. His wounds began to heal, his broken ribs straightened, his torn flesh knit together. He stood transformed, stronger, faster, eyes blazing gold. No, Silas lunged for Mara, but Lucien was there first. He caught Silas by the throat, lifted him. You wanted her blood, Lucien said. She gave it, just not to you. This isn't, it's exactly right, willing sacrifice, freely given. She chose who received her gift, and it wasn't you. Lucien threw Silas to the ground. Silas tried to stand, but something was wrong. He looked at his hands. They were shaking, weakening. What did you do? He whispered. I didn't do anything. You did. Lucien stood over him. You tried to take blood promised to another. Blood given in love sealed by bond. That's forbidden magic, and it has consequences. Silas screamed. His body convulsed. The half-vampire strength he'd cultivated for years was burning out of him. The blood moon watched indifferent. When the convulsions stopped, Silas lay gasping. Mortal. Fully, completely human. His vampire nature was gone. Lord Ambrose approached, looked down at Silas with disgust. The ritual has judged you, he said, found you unworthy. You are no longer half-blood, no longer under our protection. You are simply human. He gestured to guards. Remove him. Hold him for human authorities. They dragged Silas away. He didn't resist. The fight had gone out of him. The amphitheater erupted. Vampires arguing, questioning, some applauding. Lucien turned to Mara. She was swaying pale from blood loss. That was the stupidest, bravest thing I've ever seen, he said. Did it work? You saved my life. He caught her as she started to fall. But you lost a lot of blood. Octavia knelt beside them. Without treatment, hours. The blood loss is severe. She needs a transfusion. Or, she didn't finish. Lucien looked at Mara. Through the bond, she felt his question. There's a choice, he said quietly. I can take you to town, find a doctor, try to save you the human way, risk that it might not be enough. Or you complete the transformation. Now, become what I am, immortal, healed. What do you want me to do? I want you to live, however that looks. Mara thought about it, about the life she'd had, human, mortal, bounded by time and fear and men who thought they owned her. Then she thought about the life she could have, with Lucien, with time to see everything be everything. How does it work? You drink my blood, a lot of it. Your heart will stop. Then if the transformation takes, it starts again. Different. Will it hurt? Yes, but I'll be with you, every second. Mara looked up at the blood moon. It was beautiful, red and full and infinite. Do it, she said. Lucien bit his wrist. Blood welled up. Last chance, he said. I'm not changing my mind. Mara took his wrist. I'm choosing. This, you, us. She drank. His blood was nothing like she expected. Not cold, not dead. It tasted like night and stars and every story told in darkness. She drank until he pulled away. Enough, he said. Mara's head spun. Her heart raced, then slowed more. Lucien, she couldn't feel her moans. I've got you, just hold on. Her heart stuttered, stopped. Everything went dark. For a moment there was nothing. No breath, no heartbeat, no Mara, just darkness. Then, pain, not physical, something deeper. Her entire being was being unmade and remade cell by cell, transformed into something that shouldn't exist but did. She screamed, or tried to. No breath. But she felt Lucien through the bond, holding her mind together while her body changed, whispering, come back to me. Choose life. Choose this. Choose us. Her heart beat. Once, twice, again. Different rhythm now. Slower, stronger. Her eyes opened. The world was brighter, sharper. She could see individual stones in the amphitheater walls, could hear heartbeats from vampires 50 feet away, and she was hungry. Easy, Lucien said. He held her. First hunger is the hardest, but you can control it. Mara looked at her hands. They were pale. Perfect. The scars were gone. She was new. How do you feel? Octavia asked. Strange, powerful, hungry. Mara looked up. The blood moon was setting, giving way to gray. And the sun, is it going to go? We don't know, Lucien said. Your blood had the Daywalker gene. The transformation might have preserved it. We'll find out together. The sky lightened. Gray became pink, became gold. The vampires in the amphitheater began to retreat, seeking shadows. But Lucien stayed, and Mara with him. The first ray of sunlight touched the peak. Lucien's skin began to smoke. Lucien, it's all right, the bond helps, but I should go. Wait, Mara stood, pulled him to his feet. Look, she held out her hand, let the sunlight touch it. Her skin didn't burn, the light hit her flesh and she was fine. Impossible, Octavia breathed. Mara turned to Lucien, took his hand, pulled him into the light. His skin stopped smoking. Where their hands joined where the bond was strongest, he was protected. The Daywalker gene, Octavia said. It survived, and through the bond, she's sharing it with you. Lucian stared at their joined hands, at the sunlight that should have destroyed him but didn't. We can walk in daylight, he said, wonders in his voice. Not completely, Octavia cautioned. You'll need to stay connected, and full noon might still be too much, but dawn dusk, those are yours. Mara and Lucien stood together as the sun rose fully. For the first time in 300 years, he watched the sunrise. It's beautiful, he whispered. It is, Mara agreed. They stayed until the sun was high enough that even their bond couldn't fully protect him. Then they descended the peak hand in hand and returned to the estate. The next weeks were adjustment. Mara learned to be vampire, to control hunger, to move with supernatural speed, to exist in a world suddenly vast. Lucian was patient. Octavia was practical. Together they taught her everything. And while Mara learned, the legal world resolved itself. Silas, now fully human and powerless, was arrested. Minerva's evidence was overwhelming. Murder, fraud, conspiracy. He'd spend the rest of his natural life in prison. His estate, his money, everything passed to Mara as Julian's rightful widow. She stood in the lawyer's office looking at papers that made her wealthy beyond imagination. What will you do with it? The lawyer asked. Mara thought of Julian. I'm going to build something, she said. A hospital. Free medical care for anyone who needs it. Within months, the Julian Ashford Memorial Hospital opened its doors, the first facility in Montana Territory to treat both human and vampire patients. Minerva ran it with skill, and Mara funded it with every penny of Silas's money, turning death into life, poison into medicine. The wedding took place on the autumn equinox when day and night were perfectly balanced, neither fully light nor dark, like them. They held it at the estate in the garden Mara had brought back to life. Flowers bloomed, lanterns hung from trees, and as the sun set, they spoke their vows. Octavia officiated. She wore purple silk and carried a book of old blessings. Marriage, she said, is a choice made and remade every day, to see each other, to choose each other, to build something together that neither could build alone. She looked at Lucien. Do you choose her? This woman who stole bread from your henhouse and stole your heart just as easily? I do, Lucien said, for all the days that come, in darkness and in light. Octavia turned to Mara. Do you choose him, this vampire lord who found you running and gave you a reason to stand still? I do, Mara said, for all the nights and days, for all the years we'll walk together. Then by the power of old magic and new hope, I declare you bonded, married, mated for as long as you both endure. They kissed as the last light faded and the first stars appeared. The guests applauded, vampires and humans together, the beginning of something new. They spent the next years building. The estate became a refuge. Women fleeing violence found shelter. Vampires seeking peace found community. Humans and immortals learned to trust each other slowly, carefully. It wasn't easy. Prejudice died hard. Fear was stubborn. But change was possible. Mara proved it every day. 5 years after the trial, Mara walked through the estate gardens in early morning light, Lucien beside her. They could walk in dawn comfortably now. The bond had strengthened. His tolerance for daylight had grown. Remember when this was all overgrown, Mara said. I remember you with dirt on your face muttering about men who couldn't maintain their property. She laughed. I wasn't wrong. They walked to the cemetery behind the estate. 2 graves well tended. Isabel Thornhaven, beloved wife, Dr. Julian Ashford, healer, protector, friend. Mara knelt beside Julian's grave, left flowers, white roses. I'm happy, she told him. I hope you knew I would be. I hope you can see what we've built, what your sacrifice made possible. The wind rustled the grass. She felt through the bond Lucien's hand on her shoulder. He knew, Lucien said quietly. I met him once years after he saved me. He asked about you, said he worried you felt trapped, that his love felt like a cage, even though he never meant it that way. Mara's throat tightened. He told you that. He asked me to look out for you if anything happened. Said you deserved someone who would fight beside you, not in front of you. Lucien helped her stand. I didn't know then that I'd fall in love with you, but I think he knew. Both our spouses brought us together, Mara said, looking at Isabel's grave. Even in death. They did, and I think they'd be glad. They stood in silence, honoring the dead. Then they turned back toward the estate, toward the living, toward the future. Minerva met them at the house. We have visitors, 3 women from Denver. They heard about the sanctuary. How did they hear? Mara asked. Word spreads. Women tell each other where it's safe. Minerva smiled. You're becoming known, the vampire woman who protects the vulnerable. I'm just doing what's right. Sometimes they're the same thing. Mara went to meet the women, heard their stories, gave them room safety choices. This was her purpose now, not just surviving, protecting others. That evening, as the sun set, Mara found Lucien in the library. "I've been thinking," she said, "dangerous pastime." She sat beside him, about expanding, opening more sanctuaries, Denver, San Francisco, anywhere women need refuge. "That's ambitious. It's necessary." Mara took his hand. "You gave me safety. I want to give that to others. Build a network, so no woman has to run alone again." Lucien studied her. "You've changed from the scared woman in my henhouse to this, a leader." "You changed me." "No, I gave you space to become who you already were." He pulled her close. "And I'll support whatever you want to build. More sanctuaries, a revolution. Whatever you dream, I'm with you. Even if it takes centuries. Especially if it takes centuries. We have the time." They kissed as the last light faded. Outside, the estate glowed. People moved through it. Human, vampire, finding community. A new world, small but growing, built on one woman's choice to stop running. Years later, Mara and Lucien returned to Blood Moon Peak. The amphitheater was gone. Time had reclaimed the stones, but the peak remained beautiful under the stars. "Why did you want to come back?" Lucien asked. "To remember, to honor where we fought for this." Mara looked at the spot where the circle had been, where she'd given her blood, where she'd chosen transformation. "Do you regret it, any of it?" She turned to him. This man who'd lived 300 years before meeting her. "I regret nothing. Not the fear, not the pain, not the cost." She took his hand. "Because it brought me here. To you, to a life I never imagined." What did you imagine before all this? Mara thought back. To the girl she'd been, the woman in Julian's gentle cage, the widow running from Silas. "I imagined surviving," she said, "day by day, until I died. And now I imagine thriving, creating, building, loving." She smiled. "Living even though I'm technically dead." Lucien laughed. "Technically undead. There's a difference." "Is there?" "All the difference in the world." They descended the peak as dawn approached, drove back in comfortable silence. The sun was rising when they arrived home. Home. That word still made Mara's heart sing. They stood on the porch watching the sky turn gold. "I used to hate mornings," Lucien said. "Meant hiding, weakness. And now they mean possibility. A new day, time with you." He pulled her close. "You gave me that. Sunlight, hope, life worth living. You gave me the same, just in darkness instead of light." Then we're balanced. The sun cleared the horizon, light spilled across the prairie, and Mara and Lucien stood in it together, immortal, bonded, free. Two creatures of darkness who'd learned to walk in light, not because they'd been saved, but because they'd chosen each other. And choice, it turned out, was the most powerful magic of all. Mara looked out at the land they'd built a life on the sanctuary, the community, the future spreading in all directions. "What comes next?" she asked. "I don't know. We have forever to find out." "Forever sounds perfect." Lucien smiled, kissed her temple. "It does with you." They went inside as the day brightened, to rest, to prepare for another evening of work and love and building. But before the door closed, Mara looked back once more at the sunrise. She thought of the girl she'd been, starving, desperate, stealing bread in a henhouse. The girl who'd been found by a vampire lord who said, "wedding or grave," and then offered a third option, partnership. That girl was gone now, transformed, reborn. But she wasn't forgotten. She was honored every day, in every woman Mara helped, in every choice Mara made from strength instead of fear. The door closed, and Marguerite Thornhaven, vampire daywalker survivor, walked into her home beside the man she loved, ready for whatever came next, because she'd learned the greatest truth of all. A soul isn't what you're born with, it's what you choose to become. And she'd chosen to become exactly this: free, loved, eternal, home.